Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Palace. The season is here already, or has it been so long? Who knows, really, at the moment. It feels like it's been a blur. We face one of our most annoying games of the season in our first game, which is Everton away. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't really know, to be honest. We'll kind of discuss that in this Everton away preview. Now, how are you doing, Henry? And are you excited for the start of the new season?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I am really excited for the start of the new season, although I'm not excited for the first fixture of the season. I feel like we've been dealt a pretty tough hand with our first two games. And with how everything panned out with the World Cup and players returning, I feel like they are just going to be kind of used as like two more preseason games to kind of get a bit more of a feel for how like the squad's going to look and line up. And of course, how they're going to play the football because they've only like the whole first team have only really played together once, and that was against Freiburg, and I think we saw what happened there. But yeah, I am excited for football to be back because it's going to make my job a lot easier. Because there's going to be a lot more to talk about. And also, I've missed it. I have missed watching Palace, so yeah, excited for it to be back.
Good to hear. I like the positivity. Of course, preseason results haven't gone the way we wanted, and the preseason results have seen a lot of Palace fans get worried for the season. We're going to discuss whether you should actually be worried for the season as well in this video. As always, do not forget to subscribe, follow, comment, like, let us know how you feel the Everton game is going to go. Give us your predictions in the comments. Yeah, as you were saying there, Henry, about Everton and Man City being our first two games, it is tough. It is tough. And then it makes the Fulham and Ipswich games after very important if we don't pick up any points at all. So, of course, we have a abysmal record at Everton. Of course, they ruined our undefeated streak last season when we were 19 games undefeated and loving life. And then they ruined it on the 20th game in the 92nd minute. Cheers, lads. Of course, they've hurt us over the years. Of course, we've lost constantly at Everton over the years. Of course, their fans have invaded the pitch when we were 2-0 up and they made it 3-2 to basically stay in the Premier League and attack Patrick Vieira, our manager. Of course, all of this has happened. Of course, they gave it abuse to our players in their faces on the Goodison Park pitch. It has been a horrid time playing Everton over the years, especially away from home. The performances haven't been great. We've either been battered or we've taken the lead and lost. It's not been fun. However, Henry, there definitely is some positivity. We've got an exciting squad. We've just won a European Cup. We are the European champions. And although the results haven't been good, there has been some positives over pre-season, right? And going into this game, I think if we're talking about the positives, it's that some of the players that, well, both me and you have said maybe didn't have futures at Palace have probably looked some of the sharpest, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's hard to say there's loads of positives when you've just gone on that rant about how negative Everton away is. I mean, just for context for some people, the last time that we won away at Goodison, at the Hill Dickinson, at Everton in the Premier League, it was in 2014. I'm going to give you three guesses as to who scored Palace's three goals on that day.
Me, um,
Yep.
I definitely know Scott Down was one.
No.
Fraser Campbell,
Yep.
Yannick Balassi.
Yep.
I remember the kit. I'm just going to do a random one that's definitely not right, but I'm going to say Sonogo.
No, it was Mile Jedinak. So
Oh,
that kind of puts into context how long ago this was that, that those were the three players that scored the goals. Um, yeah, it's not been great. It's not been great. Of course, I think last 11 games we're winless. I think they've won seven out of that, or they've won like the majority of those, and then a few draws. Of course, the last win between the two for Palace came in the FA Cup, with the which resulted in the famous post-match interview from Frank Lampard. But yeah, let's move on from the negativity because yeah, it's a new season, new manager, and I feel like you said, I feel like pre-season's been a mixed bag, but it's been a mixed bag for everyone, other than Brentford. Brentford are the only team I've seen that have had a good pre-season. Like they beat Eintracht Frankfurt 7-0, which is bloody mental. But
yeah.
no, I think Everton have had as mixed bag of results as we have. Um, I did a kind of preview speaking to Matt Smith, who's an Everton fan and writer, and he basically just said like it's like any season. We've had young players that have impressed, but our senior players are a bit worrying, and they've got quite a lot of injury issues and stuff like this. So I think every club's in the same kind of boat, and yeah, I think we definitely have a chance to buck the trend, and I think that would be a really good start to the season. A bit of a monkey back. I don't think the players will even be aware of it. I don't think they'll even care in terms of like you know we never get anything against Everton. But it would be nice, I think, if that kind of like I said trend can be put to an end. Agree with your point as well. Pre-season, I think we have seen some players that have looked really sharp that we definitely didn't expect. I mean, Mateus França, I think it's probably been one of our better performers in pre-season. Can he carry that into the Premier League? I don't know. I mean, I'd love it if he did. I'd love it if he did. Um, and you know, up front, he's got a decision to be made. Whether you go Nketiah, whether you go Strand Larson, or whether you go Mateta, who's only really been back training for a couple of weeks. So I think there's a lot to unpack ahead of this game. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm feeling confident because obviously it is Everton, but I am feeling optimistic.
Yeah, and I think actually having Everton first game when it is all this like really hard game in Palace fans' eyes is probably a good way for Pierre Sage to start when it's been such a dysfunctional summer for him with 12 Palace players being at the World Cup, Mateta and Pino not having a single minute of pre-season action, you know, fitness issues in the squads, gelling with his new tactics. A lot of people are going to assume that we're going to play the exact same as we did under Glasner because we're playing the same formation. But if you've been watching pre-season, that is massively not the case. It's going to take some time to gel, and it'll be interesting to see in this first game against Everton if he kind of goes a little bit back to basics whilst he's still trying to get players in key areas to gel. We will talk about the attack whilst you briefly mentioned it before there. It is such a tough one to make because Mateta and Pino, two people that many would argue would be in the starting 11, have not played any preseason minutes. They've only been back a week. Are they going to be fit enough to play in this game? Are they going to be given that kind of start that they should? Do you think they will start Henry? And if not, what's your kind of ideal front two alongside Ismail Assar, of course?
Yeah, a really difficult one for me because you're kind of now stuck in a position where they're not fit enough to start, but they're not going to get fitness unless they start or if they play a decent amount, which is a really difficult position for Sarge to be in. And whether they play a couple of games with the under 21s, whether Palace organise some behind closed doors friendlies, I don't know. They could do that, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I think. I think he won't start them purely because they're not fit and they've not played. I think that he might. I think he's definitely aware from what he's been saying. It sounds like he's aware that the kind of opening couple of games of the Premier League are going to be like pre-season games. And if that's his complete mindset, then he might chuck them in. He really might. But at the same time, like he's gonna naturally want to get off to a good start. And obviously the fans are, the players are. It's important that we do that. But to do that, I feel like we're probably going to sacrifice that by playing two players that aren't match fit. For what it's worth, I think it will be McNeil starting on the left. I think it'll be Sarr on the right, and then it will be either Nketiah or Jurgen Strand Larsen through the middle. I could see Nketiah because he's done pretty well in pre-season. And I don't know, we kind of still don't know the style that Sarge likes from his striker. Like Edouard was not similar to Mateta or Strand Larsen. Nketiah is a little bit more of that ilk. So I'm excited to see, and I think that one thing we are going to have to accept is that over the next like month or so, there's going to be a lot of changing in terms of the lineup. You know, if we bring in another centre back, who drops out of the three if they're a starter? You know, if we bring in Kamara, does that mean that Kamada is now a bench option? Probably, to be honest. So I think we're going to have a period where we're not settled. You know, right back, is it Oscar Mingueza that starts? Do you start Anan Kalili? Do you throw him straight in? Or do you keep playing Munoz whilst you're waiting to sell him? You know, it's a really difficult one for me. And I think we do need a lot of patience. And I've said that a lot in terms of the transfer window. And I think Sarge coming out and speaking the way he did about, you know, we don't want to panic buy, we don't want to rush into things is really good. But I think that mindset still needs to carry over into the start of the season because we could lose the first three games of the season and everyone could get up in arms. I don't think that's very beneficial to anyone. Sars is a great manager. This is not like the De Boer signing where he like been a relative unknown, to be honest, and then come over And like, yeah, he managed in Holland. I think was he at Ajax, but like, how difficult is that? You come over to the Premier League and it was just awful. Sarge has kind of really spearheaded the progression at Lens. So I think we just all need to be patient. And that was quite a long answer, but
That's all right, mate.
I think I
I've
ticked
been
everything
listening
off.
and I can go that back and forth with that. So just on Sargent being in France compared to De Boer being in Holland, you're seeing a lot of clubs in the Premier League pick up French young talents from Ligue 1. And it's worked with Canvo. And that's because I think a lot of people are kind of identifying France as a similar league in terms of physicality and tactically, not in terms of, the full term quality of every team you're playing every week. But, they're noticing that there are some similarities. So hopefully that will really help Pierre Sage. And on your front three, the worry is, I think, for me, is Larson is great technically or good technically. I just don't think he's there physically. And yeah, exactly on your point in terms of Edouard and Nketiah not being the physical profile that Mateta is. In my head, that's going to be so interesting in the Premier League to see what he goes with, because I still would go with Mateta because he offers so much more in terms of in the future, not in terms of this game, because obviously his fitness isn't going to be there. So yeah, I don't mind Larson up top. Ismaila Sarr on the right, probably. Left, Dwight McNeil. That's very, very interesting. And I think I kind of back it because when Gessen came on against Freiburg, he played up top uh, in the full 90-minute game. And that really interested me because it really does make me think. I don't think any week we're going to know who's playing kind of where in that front
Not
two.
yeah,
I'm going to
not at
assume
least for
Star.
kind of the first 6 weeks, I don't think.
Yeah, for
I think it's
sure.
definitely going
And
to take time to settle.
it's going to be really, really interesting to see. But that's another reason why the depth we've brought in is good to see. So yeah, I'd probably at the moment be going. I'd give Gessen a go. Gessen, Larson, Saar. I'd go a bit more for the counter-attacking pace. I think yes, we do a bit of high line now under Sarge and stuff, but I feel like Everton first game of the season, you need to kind of soak up a bit of the pressure, especially at the start, and kind of upset the fans because their fans. I don't want to say turn, but they will get a bit
Oh, they do
angry
massively, yeah.
if it's not going their way. So you need to play that to your advantage for sure. It's going to be interesting. And then obviously Kamada, Wharton, middle two. Back five, as you said there, right wing back is another key area for us. I would personally go for Munoz still. I just don't see the point in messing up that when we've kind of got the back three still not looking
I don't know. That's
perfect.
hard though. That's hard. Only
Is
on the
it because of
basis
the
that if
Sarge
you are
tactics you're thinking Mangueza's better suited?
no, nothing to do with tactics. I think if you're trying to sell Munoz, don't play him. What if he gets injured? There's 20 to 30 million sat there. Sell him, right? We need the money. Sell him. It's going to allow us to go and do all the other things that we need to do. Playing him is just risking him getting injured. And I just don't see the point in that, to be honest. Like, yeah, he's obviously really important for us. And I've spoken a lot about it. I'd be sad for him to go. I really like him, but I think it will be Mingueza, but I'd like it to be Kalili. I think it's a good game for Kalili to get chucked into. Like
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be too much pressure on him on that side. He's not. He'll be up against Tyreek George, so another young player. So I think he'd probably be okay. Or if not, it'll be Dibbling, so another young player. And I think that it'll just be perfect for him to kind of actually get on the pitch and get bedded in with the team.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I still back my head, obviously, emotionally with Munoz. I'm just like, play him. He knows what he's doing. He's good. And obviously, just the hilarious story of if he moves to Everton, maybe scoring against them in the 90th minute to beat them on the first day will be great content for their admin
I
team
did
if he
just
goes
think
there.
that.
Um, so yeah, but we got and yeah, Kalali. We got to remember even though he's young, he's played in the Champions League. He's played in Europe's biggest stage. He's got experience there. Yes, Everton away isn't great in terms of like your first experience of learning the Premier League. They'll be straight on you, point in case when Munoz time wasted, stopped them taking the free kick in like the 70th minute last season and completely changed that game for Everton's favour, which was so frustrating. But I like the shout, Akali. I like it a lot. It's going to be interesting. And then finally, just talking about the Palace team in general, the back line, obviously Richards, Canvo, and Riyadh is the most likely thing at the moment, but they have made mistakes, and they're three defenders who defensive awareness wise aren't perfect, and in a high line that will get exploited at times. So there has been debate among the Palace fan base about who should start in that back line. Tommy Asu's looked decent when he's come in. People suggested maybe he could play. Henry, how would you be lining up in that back three?
Yeah, I think Tomiyasu has looked good. I think there's a chance it could be Tomiyasu, Richards, Canvo. I don't think you can drop Canvo. I think he's too important. I think that Richards is kind of that natural leader. And like you said, I've been really impressed with Tomiyasu. I think he's been really, really, really good actually. A bit like of an eye opener, to be honest. I don't think I was expecting it. Um, I think Riyadh obviously went quite deep in the World Cup, and had a bit of an injury issue with his knee, which kind of prevented him from playing Morocco's like last couple of games. Apparently wasn't anything major, but their manager was like, if people aren't 100%, I don't want to risk it. But I think that, I think I would personally go Tomiyasu, Richards, Canvo. I do think like everyone's mentioned, there's issues in terms of that high line, and I feel like it will either be a case that we get in the players that we need to be able to play that, or Sarge realizes quite quickly that he has to drop it back a little bit because it's just going to be kind of suicidal. You're just going to have people running at you constantly, and you're always exposed in that sense if you're playing that high, especially with the lack of pace. And then the last position is the goalkeeper, right? Because
Yeah.
Henderson's been limping around in the back of training videos or whatever it is, and so it's probably going to be Benitez starting. But I'm quite relaxed about that, to be honest. What about you?
Yeah, I think obviously your captain not being in the team is an issue, especially when you've already lost a leader in Lacroix. And I think I highlight this, I feel like every week, but I am worried about the lack of leaders in the starting 11. I feel like if we were to lose Munoz, possibly even Mateta, who knows? Like, who knows what's going to happen? Um, you're losing three huge personalities in one window when you're also in the Europa League under a new manager. And I think if we were going 1-0 down in games, head would drop and stuff like that. So obviously losing Henderson in your first game of the season isn't helpful. However, Benitez against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup quarter-final was insane. If he does a performance like that, that'll be absolutely brilliant. And it's very likely he will do performances like that because he has stepped up. And realistically, I don't see him as a second choice. I see him as a very good first choice, not to Dean Henderson's level, in my opinion. But, a lot of teams would take him in their team for sure. So, yeah, I'm feeling all right about that. I'm no complaints about that. And when it is your goalkeeper, when there isn't, that as much difference in quality as there has been in the past when we've done sub keepers, yeah, it's definitely something we can't be moaning about for sure. And that's a good reason why we signed squad depth in the past in these positions. Moving on to Everton, they've, to me, had quite an enjoyable pre-season for the most part. Big wins against Newcastle, drew against Lille. Fans are happy with how the players are looking. The young players are looking good. But in my head, I don't know about you, mate. I know you were saying there, Diblin and Tyreek George could start. I just feel like David Moyes, the way he speaks, I could just see him going with experience over exciting youth for this game, first game of the season. But they have built a decent spine, haven't they, apart from their fullbacks?
They have, but they have also got a lot of injury issues. Like Braithwaite's being managed very carefully, but I think he is expected to start. But James Garner absolutely won't be playing. Neither will Tim Bunham. And I think a lot of the time against Everton, we seem to get overrun in midfield. And I feel like that is quite an important part of the pitch for them. I think Idrissa Gueye, Garner and Bunham and whoever else they have in there, they always seem to be very hardworking and very dominant. And I think we struggle against that. And I think that not having those players is a huge advantage for us. I think Braithwaite starts, but I think if you pin potentially Mateta on him, and just get him to bully him a bit, you take advantage of the fact that he's not fully fit as well and he's recovering from injury. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they probably will like lean towards experience. We should probably see Brennan Johnson start, to be honest, because he's had a full pre-season, and I can just see that happening. It might be that it's Johnson and Jai and then Tieno Barry up front. But you're right. A lot of these players have had really good seasons. There's a lad called Harrison Armstrong who's
Yeah,
19, midfielder who has apparently been lighting the world up, and they're really
yeah,
impressed by him. Played every single game in pre-season. So yeah, I mean, is it like any team, right? You have pre-season, you see some new youngsters that you like the look of, or some promising players that maybe you didn't expect, and then you're dealing with kind of fitness issues and injury issues. I think for the most part they're fine in terms of their players returning from the World Cup. Like they didn't really have many there, not to
Yeah.
the level that obviously we did. Um, and I think actually that is it's an important point kind of for the first like few weeks of the season at least, is that maybe up until that first international break, that these players are like, their pre-season is essentially starting now, and their first pre-season game is essentially the opening day of the Premier League. And I think that could cause some upsets. I think that Coventry have a chance, they have as good a chance as any against Arsenal, because half of Arsenal's team is not fit. Cov didn't have many players at the World Cup. Same could be said for Hull and Man United. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like we're kind of on the bigger side end of that in the negative, because when we face Everton, how many of our players, I mean, thank God Wharton wasn't at the World Cup, and thank God that Japan and the USA got knocked out when they did, because like, we kind of be
Yeah.
in a pretty tough position. But yeah, I'm like they're going to feel positive, as they should. They've got an incredible record against us, and they have every right to be confident. Um, but we can also, I think, like I said earlier, the words optimism. I think, this is exciting. Like the football that we've seen from Sarge is good. It's exciting football, and it's smart and it's intricate, and you can really see what we're trying to do. We just need to put it into practice with our best players on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to see a counter press against an Everton side who, on the ball, defensively, I wouldn't say are that great, especially when they're going to be lining up with Mikalenko on the left and probably O'Brien on the right, who's not a right back. Their fullbacks are positions we should be trying to exploit. And you picked up a really good point on the midfield battle with them key injuries that they're going to have. That is a really big positive for Kamada and Wharton. Um, the midfield is going to be so important, like you've picked up in previous years over Everton. It's physical in there, it's tough. But if you lose big players like James Garner, then they're going to lose bit of that out, and that might give Wharton the space he needs. And with the way Sarge is playing, where it's a bit quicker, we're seeing Sarr, Larson run in behind a lot more during pre-season. So if Wharton can get them passes quickly, we can really turn Everton around and exploit their weaknesses there for sure. And it'll be interesting for them as well up top, because Tieno Barry's had a decent pre-season. He's scoring goals. Um, but Ndai's only been back a bit, so he won't be fully at his best. Um, it's gonna be really, really interesting. But I think, as we've said, in terms of us getting back to fitness, it's probably like a very nice fixture for us to start with, because if we can upset something early doors, uh, the atmosphere will massively change in there. Like they'll be well up for this game, but if we're exploiting them, if we're you know doing well against them, then it's going to change. The atmosphere is going to change in there. The motivation is going to change in there, and it'll be a proper kind of dog fight game. And I'm really looking forward to it, because yeah, if we lose, there's going to be some people really worried, because we then got City next, then you go on from then. But I just want to see the the rhythm working a bit better, the high line working a bit better, the counter press working a bit better. Making Everton make more mistakes doing that. And if we can see some of that replicate with some of the players that are probably going to start on the weekend, then I mean, for me, Henry, right, we're going to have an exciting season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's one of those where, if we lost to Everton and City, hypothetically, would that be disappointing? Yes. Would it be catastrophic? No. You lose two games in a row during the season, probably 5 or 6 times across the course of the year. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. I think that we need to, like I said earlier, be patient. I think it's going to take a bit of time before we see this football at its full flowing nature. And I think, you're right. It's a great chance to go and get a really good start to the season. But ultimately, excuse me, in some ways the pressure's off. Like realistically, like I don't think many Palace fans are expecting anything. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a chance there to go and capitalise on the fact that Everton have lots of injury issues and they don't play the most attractive style of football. And I look back to the preseason game that stood out to me so far is Fulham. Um, and that
Yep.
was because, we went down early and my God, they played a ridiculously intense press. And I was watching it thinking, we are swarmed. Like, well, there's no way we're getting anything from this game. And we come away with a 2-1 win, and that was
Yep.
still with a relatively weak side fielded. So I think, yeah, we're going to be absolutely fine. I'm optimistic. I'm not sure if we're going to win or not. I don't know what I'd predict if I had to, but I'm backing the boys, and I'm more excited to see the side he picks and how he talks before and after the game than I am the game itself. I think I'm really interested to see kind of behind what Sarge is thinking.
Yeah, no, I feel the same with you, mate. I feel the same. I think it's been nice and refreshing hearing some of his quotes on the transfer window. I also hope it's not his downfall in terms of him being happily patient, waiting for that central centre back to come in. Hopefully that doesn't ruin us too much early doors, but it's nice that he is patient about it. It's nice that he wants to kind of use the squad that he has in front of him. I think over the years, all of us have moaned about not using squad depth enough, whoever the manager has been since we've been promoted, realistically, and not just utilising what's in front of you. And the one positive for sure we can see with preseason is Sarge will change players if he feels fit to. He will change them if one's not performing, and he will use his bench. And coming into the season, dysfunctional preseason and all that, that's all we can, take going into this game. If he carries on with the way he wants to do, I'm very, very happy to see that with Everton, as long as we don't get battered, of course. If you had to do a score prediction, mate, what are you saying?
Well, on my preview, I predicted a 2-1 loss. But this chat's got me feeling confident. Um, so I'm gonna go with 1-1, I think.
Nice.
See the confidence coursing through my veins as I said that.
I mean, when we play Everton away, predicting a draw is very, very confident. I'm just got a feeling that this game's going to be wild. I just got a feeling. First game pre-season.
17-16 to
I,
Palace.
I'm going to go 3-3. I'm in the away end. I want
3-3.
to see goals and I want to have a good day out. Maybe I've had too many beers at the day and I'm going to think it's
Already?
3-3
I
and
think
we're
you've had
3-0 down.
too many beers already. 3-0.
No, not today. Don't worry. No, don't
It's all
worry.
right. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But I think when I've seen our high line, you know, we are going to concede a few. And I think now that we're back in the Premier League, people have been saying we haven't had enough shots and that, which, fair enough point in some cases. But I think we will, attack and take it to them as well when we need to. And I think that could produce some goals. So I'm going to say 3-0 because I'm well buzzing for the season. But the main thing I'm happy about is being in that away end and singing the beautiful chant, European champions, we know what we are. And I'm going to say that all season. I don't care if it's the Conference League. I wouldn't care if it was like the 6th European competition that they'll make in like 30 years' time. I'm going to be singing it in front of them Everton fans for sure.
Have they ever
Look,
sung that?
I don't. Apparently, they did win a European trophy, but I don't know when.
Oh, well, that's a shame. You can't say you've never seen that. You just have to do, we know what we are.
Yeah. Um, I tweeted about that yesterday. I had an Everton fan going, "Nah, I wouldn't, mate. I'm going to do what I want to do, mate. So I'm going to be singing it."
Sorry. What did he say? No, I wouldn't, mate.
Yeah, I'll say cheers for the feedback.
Giving me timbers.
I have to find that picture where it's like a guy with a cut finger being like, "I've just seen the Everton Ultras." It's been a wild one. First day back. Oh man, at least we're excited for it. And I've said it before, this channel will be bringing you more and more content as the season goes on. We'll be bringing you a post-match reaction and we'll continue with the transfer news videos as well. But there just hasn't been too much this week, of course, that hasn't been spoken about a million times by us two already. So hopefully there'll be some big news updates next week that we can also bring you. I think that's all for today, mate, really. Nothing else to cover, right?
Well, Xavier Gozo's been announced, which is great. Huge
Yeah.
move. Very happy with that. And I think that's it. I think that might be it.
Just seen, actually, just quickly, it's like I've manifested transfer news. Apparently, Everton are now moving to Matty Cash over Munoz. That's what Alan Nixon is saying.
That's fucking weird. That's really weird. But that whole thing with David Moyes has just been stupid. Like he's kind of been like, I don't think he's good enough as a right back. It's like he played right wing back for 2 years. He played right back
Yeah.
for the rest of his career,
Yeah.
and for Colombia. Oh, that's fucking weird.
Do you know what
Just
I've
give us the
heard
money,
from
mate.
Everton fans? they've got that ITK, I think, El Bob or something, and I think it's from him. But I've been told by Everton fans that one of the rumours is that he keeps on getting offered right backs, and in his head, one of the big things that he wants is them to be defensively better than Jake O'Brien at right back.
But that's just
But obviously, O'Brien's
oh.
going to technically be a
Munoz
better
is good
defender.
defensively though.
Yeah,
Munoz is good defensively, as is Matty
it's
Cash.
it's so
Like,
weird. And obviously, O'Brien's going to be a very decent defender compared to right backs because he's a centre back in spirit. So it just feels really weird. I feel like Everton would have had a right back by now if Moyes could have made his mind up. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that, of course.
well, at the
But
minute
yeah,
it'll be either Jake O'Brien or Merlin Rowe. So their
be really
two options for
interesting.
right back are a centre mid and a centre back, and they're refusing to sign a right back. Makes
I know.
sense.
I know.
Great.
That's hopefully it plays into our favour on the weekend. Palace fans, if you're listening and you're at the game on Saturday, I hope to see you there. I hope you sing the European Champions chant with me, of course. And yeah, be sure to subscribe, like, and we will see you later.